Being a psychologist, one of the things that I made a vow to do is to treat every child like my son and every young lady like my daughter. So welcome to the Father Mentor Show. I am your host, Dr. T.E. Russ, educational psychologist and evangelist. Today we are talking on a serious topic, and we're going to talk about ODD, oppositional defiant disorder. I got you in the lion's den in the back of me. That's why it's breathing. And we're going to have a good conversation. I have with me Pastor Frank Starks. And he's shaved and everything, so he's ready to go. And I got the combat gear on, so I got the hat on, and I got my jacket on, and that's what you got to deal with sometimes when you deal with children with ODD. Before I bring him on, let me kind of break down to you what ODD is. I was talking to my daughter today, and others like my daughter that have issues with the children, especially boys. ODD is also present in females, but more common in young boys. So I want to read this to you straight out of what ODD is. When you talk about oppositional defiant disorder, you're basically saying the children are uncooperative. They are defiant and hostile toward peers, adults, and really authority figures. And they're troubled. And then you're probably wondering, like, why are they troubled? Well, before I even get into that, because we'll talk about that, let's talk about the spiritual side of things. Because the spiritual side of things mean a lot. And even before I go into that, a lot of parents, I ain't going to say a lot of parents, but I will say some parents, they amaze me. And some of my family have amazed me when they looked at their children having basically defiant and hostile behaviors. And I would always look at even some of the people in my family and would go, man, you cuss every sentence. You throw things. You don't know how to match the kid's energy. You don't know how to be calm. You don't know how to parent. You need teaching yourself. Some parents don't know how to provide, I would say, that nutrients of nurture. I think I used to be one of those parents, man, where do as I say, not as I do. And it doesn't work like that. And I'm not saying that's where the oppositional defiant order is, but I'm kind of break down a couple theories to you, and so that maybe you can kind of relate. I had a kind of a tough childhood, not having a father and other things in my life, but I never was oppositional. And so we're going to talk about what makes a kid oppositional, what makes him hostile, what makes him not get along with authority figures. Let's talk about that. Let's have a conversation. So, well, the spiritual side of all things is that, and I've talked before, Pastor and I, that we wrestle not against flesh and blood. This right here, this right here, this right here, and this right here. We have senses. Children have senses. And if you think you're battling the body and you think you're battling the mind first, you are incorrect. You're binding and you're looking at the spirit of a child. The spirit of the child is what possesses that child, and the external factors, or maybe what we call the psychosomatic things that you can't see, affects a child. You just don't know, okay? So I don't know if Pastor Starks is in the background, but he can come on if he's there, if he's available, and let's have a conversation. If he's not able to come, that's fine. I will continue. So let me talk about some things and kind of go back and forth. There he is. Okay, he's there, but he ain't on. But that's fine. There he is. Okay, gotcha. You're muted. Okay. So he's there. So let me talk about the developmental theory of looking at a kid with ODD. Okay. So we having a conversation. I'm lax. I got my combat shoes on, my Nike, my hat, because that's what I got to deal with when I deal with children with ODD. I really got to get relaxed. I can't be wearing no suit and tie and all that other stuff. And that's why I'm dressed the way I am. So let me throw this theory at you. The developmental theory of ODD says the theory suggests that the problems start with children that are toddlers. Children and teens with ODD may have trouble learning to become independent from a parent or other main people to whom they were emotionally attached. Okay? Their behavior may be normal, developmental issues that are lasting beyond the toddling years. That is one theory. And let me kind of give you that. I think I can hear your background, Pastor, a little bit. I can hear your background, your sound background.
Okay.
Um, I have a grandson, and his mother's a social worker, and my eldest child. And I will begin to talk to her today because my grandson is having all kind of behaviors. She don't know where it's coming from. So you guys out there, man, get some lemonade, get some coffee. Y'all gonna sit back and go, oh my God, on this one. So they take him to get his haircut. He is 13 years old and he's 5'8". His dad is 6'3". He's a big kid. Okay. And he's in the barber chair making faces. He won't stop moving around. He's extremely intelligent. So he gets out the chair, and his stepdad is a command sergeant major. So he looks at him and says, man, you're ungrateful. You got a nice haircut. He told the barber you didn't like the haircut. Basically, how dare you? So my grandson, they call me Papa, says, I hate it. And they say, well, we paid for your haircut. You should be grateful. What is the problem? We're looking in the mirror and you look good. But he didn't see himself as looking good. He looked in the mirror and saw his biological father, in which he resents. So every time he got his hair cut like that, his biological dad got his hair cut like that. So he's struggling, man, inside. He's struggling to capture what he should be, but he's struggling on what he's going to be because he can't handle his attitude. He can't handle the behavior that's attached emotionally to his father. So every time his stepfather talks to him crazy, he goes, I don't have to listen to you. Watch this, because you ain't my dad. Now he's putting his dad in an authority figure because his dad ain't there, but he doesn't like looking at his dad, and he don't want to hear what his stepdad's saying. So he's all over the place. And I said to my daughter, simply, why didn't you let him have options? Well, he wants a high top. We can't do high tops. I said, well, did you give him another option? Give him 3 options and tell him what he can't do. Let him buy himself, okay, pay the barber himself, and let him be a young man. And let him have that independence away from who you guys want him to be, and let him be who he's supposed to be. Okay? So that's one developmental theory, because kids get attached and this and that. I'll give another. I'll use me. My mother would always say, I can't stand your dad. I can't stand your dad. Your dad tried to kill me. Your dad is crazy. But one day, when I was 25, she would say, you act just like your dad. You look just like your dad. You walk just like your dad. So you know what the saying is: if it's a duck, if it quacks like a duck, walk like a duck, it's a duck. So I've never had a good relationship with my mom. And a lot of people say, well, you didn't have ODD. Oh, yes, I did. I had it in my 20s. And a lot of people think you have ODD when you're young and adolescent. That's not true. That's one of those things that you develop and a pattern, and you have detachment issues. And I had detachment issues. And not only did I have attachment issues of people that act like him, I went further and didn't like men, period. I didn't care if he's white, black, Mexican, Filipino, Asian. I didn't like you if you was a man. Well, why? Because my grandmother didn't like men. My mother didn't like men. Shoot, my aunt didn't like men. I never saw nobody that liked men that were female. So I didn't like men. So I developed this detachment. And that's what young kids do too. That's why we got to be very careful. People, when you're out there, to don't argue in the house with your kids. If you're going to argue and you're going to say things, go out to dinner, go have a break, go do something so they don't hear that, they don't see that, and they don't feel that. And because you don't know what you're developing in your child. And spiritually, we call it the strong man. The strong man comes in your house and he dictates and operates where the father doesn't. So when you say, man, I had a father, but was he saved, filled with the Holy Ghost? Did he have power? Did he have understanding? What did he have? Because there's some folks that had fathers, but were they holy? Did they understand the laws of God and the laws of man and the laws of finances? Let me not get too deep. Let me go to this last theory, and I'm going to bring the master pastor, Frank Starks, on. The last theory is the learning theory. There's a lot of theories out there. We're going to go with these two. The learning theory says the learning suggests that negative symptoms of ODD are learned attitudes. They mirror the effects of negative reinforcement that are used by parents and others in power. The use of negative reinforcement increases a child's ODD behavior. And it's also, they want the attention. So that was me right there, that learning theory. Not so much developmental, but learning. I saw my grandmother, man, she dogged guys. She dogged people. She put fear in them. And I said, man, I'm a big dude. I'm 6 foot, 225, 30 pounds on swole. I carry a 9mm in my back, 32 on my side. I got a knife for martial arts. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to put some fear in these cats, what they did to me when they bullied me when I was younger. They ain't going to bully me no more. And so I begin to have that attitude. I begin to want that power. And so these young kids, they feel that way too. And a lot of people don't talk about how ODD is also present with young men and young women that have been bullied. Okay? Because we all have been bullied sometime, even if it's a childhood, on your job, on the street, in your family, you have been bullied some form of type. So we'll talk about that because we're talking about children. So I'm going to bring Pastor Frank Starks on. How you doing, sir?
Doing well, Dr. Thomas Russell, educational psychologist.
Yeah, that's me. That's me. And I'm just, we're having a conversation, not a show.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I'm be, what, man, the other day I cried. I cried. And the reason I cried, and I'm being transparent, is because I have judged so many people. I ain't gonna lie. As I came up the ranks and God allowed me to be a great mental health professional and a great psychologist, I have judged parents. I have judged people. But man, God set me aside, man, and he said, who do you think you are? You're no better than anybody else. My Bible says we are as filthy rags. And only reason that you're not the way you are now is because I brought conviction in your life. I brought you down to your knees and put you on your deathbed so that you can open your eyes up. Man, when he did that, right. I cried. And I said to myself, how many people have I led astray? because of my pride. Now I'm saying this because I love what you preach. This is what you preach. You preach hope. You teach hope. You I've watched you for years, and
20 minutes.
you have you have a lot of compassion, no matter what people do. But that's what Jesus did. Jesus said he moved and he healed with compassion. And I think I forgot that. And I'm so ethic, I'm so cultural. I'm so this is the law. Why are you doing my people this way? Why are you doing these kids that way? But I forgot about there has to be a element of love, Pastor. There has to be an element of compassion with parents. Let me tell you something, man. My mother and other mothers like my mother struggled. They struggled. They struggled to pay the bills. They struggled to this, and that. And they might not have parented the way they should have. And we probably saw things we shouldn't have, but there's God. And so now I come back, I try to share to parents how to look at things with the children because we all miss it. So now that I'm so-called mature, that's why we having a conversation that there's some things that when we're talking about ODD, there's some things that we can do, and there's some things that parents need to see in their kids if they do have that. And what's your thoughts on it? What's your thoughts right now? I know you got a little background sound back there, but maybe we can work through it.
Hey, brother. So one of the things that I know with ODD is that the child wants their way.
Absolutely.
They want their way. They don't want to. They don't want to listen. Uh, and they have issues with following direction.
Yep. Yep.
I know my guy does. He has issues with following directions, and so we try to help him out with that. And he doesn't want to. He doesn't want you to give him directions either. Okay, and so it creates an issue where he doesn't. It becomes head knocking. Where you're trying to show him what you know and what is right and what is constructive, and they want to do it their way at 12 or 10 years old, and it doesn't work well. It doesn't work well.
Right.
And then the next thing they do, if they don't listen, then they want to get loud. Okay, then they want to get stormy. They want to walk out, or they want to get destructive, start destroying stuff.
True.
And so we have to be careful with that, because one of the things I've learned, force with force equals force. And so we have to be able to talk them out of it in a way. And I just try to show my guy is that we are a family, and family can talk, family can sit, family can reason, and within the family we have peace. And so these are things that I've taught him, but he's always had, man, since he was able to be in 5 or 6 years old, this strong will to do what he wants to do.
Right.
Even with scissors or cutting out little projects, he don't want to do it the way the teacher does. He wants to do it his way. Even on the playground, he wants to do it his way. So yeah.
And I would say that he is really that is leader qualities, but it's what I call ineffective leadership. But we can turn that around so that he be effective, because there's certain things that
Sure.
that are like that. I was like that. I'm gonna do it my way. I'm gonna do it. Even in the army. I'm like, I'm not doing that because I got to go through this water,
Right.
but I'm gonna go around so I won't get wet. And they would go with that's
Right.
not the rules. I said, I don't care about no rules. And so, well, let me give you some characteristics out there for the audience. Um, so there's some signs. Let's go over these signs. Um, Having frequent temper tantrums. Okay. Uh,
Yeah.
ar- Arguing a lot with adults. Refusing to do what an adult asks. Okay. Always questioning rules and refusing to follow rules. Okay. Doing things to annoy or upset others, including adults. Okay. Blaming others for the child's own misbehaviors or mistakes. So he blames others and doesn't take ownership. Okay. Being easily annoyed by others. Often having an angry attitude. Speaking unkindly or harshly. Seeking revenge or being vindictive. Okay. These are the signs and symptoms. And I'm not trying to make anybody mad out there, but I have to say that these are the signs and symptoms of those that need some mental health counseling. Because mental health counseling, it doesn't say you're crazy. What it says is that you have signs leading up to something that will make you have psychosis. And psychosis, if you look at the DSM, that's what we look at to look at mental disorders, can range from 0 all the way to 100. So we look at these different things that what we call abnormal or atypical. They're atypical. They're not normal. They don't supposed to happen to a normal child. So uh, we look at those things, and sometimes we ask the clinical psychologist, the social worker, the school psychologist, what is wrong with my child? And that's why from the very beginning, I brought up spirituality. Spirituality and praying for your young one and having a spiritual pastor or guide can break yokes. And what the Bible says, the strong man. The strong man is that spiritual bondage that maybe your son or your daughter has, and you see it and you think it's funny when they're little. Oh, that's funny. He cussed you out. That's funny. He just, no, that's a problem. And we don't need to reinforce that behavior. So as they start from toddlers and they go to adolescence, and then they go to young adults or teenagers, and then they become an adults at 18, they really are not adults at 18. They're still 12. They're still 13 because their mental capacity hasn't caught up to what we call the chronological age. So how we treat it? How do we treat it? I got some notes. I don't want to keep you too long. I want to keep your attention. Um, they have a lot of things here and early treatment and different things like that. But I'm going to read some things I did. Okay. One of the things here is cognitive behavioral therapy. A child learns to better solve problems and communicate. He or she also learns how to control impulses or anger. Now, cognitive behavioral therapy is what I use. CBT, we call it CBT. And I use strategies, I use self control, I use thinking strategies. How would you feel if I did this to you? How would you think about that if you did it this way? Or if you did it that way? What would you do about it? How would you think about it? What if somebody did that to your mother? What would that do to you? What if somebody did that to your brother? What if somebody slapped you in the face for no reason because you was mad that day? Would you forgive them? Would you do it? That behavioral therapy uses the cognition of your child, depending on the level what your child is, so that they can understand. Even the lowest level. My son is a Down syndrome child. And I use cognitive behavior therapy. And some people say, well, why do you do that? It's cognition. It's cognition is fine. So I just have to get on this level. Where do you start in therapy? Where the person is, or where that child is. So I'll go, his name is Marquise. You see him on the introduction. I'll tell him, that made daddy feel bad. He's 12. I made daddy feel bad. What if I did that to you? What if I ignored you. He ignores a lot. So what if I do that and he'll turn my face around so he can see me? No, you ignore me, I'm going to ignore you. That's part of the process. Another one is family therapy. I love family therapy. Our family is what we call family system therapy. And this is where the family communicates and interactions and how they deal with an understanding with each other. Some families have an enmeshed system and some don't have a meshed system. They're wild. My family is just wild. They used to be. A lot of people have passed away, but everybody did their own thing. We were never functionally on one accord. But then you got those families that are enmeshed that do everything together, and no one knows if they're doing it right because all the family members think the same. Okay, you ever see families think the same, and there's no, sorry, the dog in the background. There's no ability to go to the next level because everybody is thinking the same way. So when you have an outsider come in and say, "This is what I think," they go off. Okay. The next one is peer group therapy. This is what I recommend Pastor Starks do with his child. Get him in some peer group therapy where other kids, his own age and cognitive ability, the way they think, okay? I would say 5 to 6 kids, no more than that, and have a mediator there, a clinician, and have a roundtable discussion on how to think. Okay. That is an awesome way. And it's kind of competitive. Sometimes it can be because other kids want to outthink other kids. That's what you want to do. You want them puffed up and want to make them feel like, hey, I can outthink this guy or whatever. And it actually it heals them. It heals them. It actually gives them an objective look of how and what they need to do to be sane, to be an authority of their own life. I always tell people you can't be authority of nobody else until you get yourself right. And the last one is medicine. Some kids just need medicine, man. And I hate to say that, but it's the truth. My brother, which has passed away, he passed away at 20. He needed medicine. He refused the medicine. And the medicine, I would say to a psychiatrist, is to adjust it accordingly as the treatment in the group sessions and the therapy and the diet. You got to look at diet. Got to look family structure to see how to help kids. How do you prevent ODD in my child? Let me read this to you. This is from an article. How do I help prevent ODD in my child? Researchers don't know what causes ODD. They don't. But certain approaches can help prevent the disorder. Young children may be helped by early intervention programs that teach them social skills and how to deal with their anger. For teens, talk therapy, psychotherapy is what I do, or I used to do, learning social skills and getting help with school work and all these other problems that deal with school. And school-based programs can also help stop bullying and improve relationship. Parent management training, got to put the parent in there. And programs are also important. And these programs teach parents how to manage their child's behavior, okay? Early treatment for your child can also prevent future problems. Here's what I'll say about parents. Keep all your appointments with your child's health provider. Be consistent and show your child that you're there for them. Number 2, take part in family therapy. It's not about just that child. It's about you and that child. And that's a holistic approach. Holistic meaning everybody in your community, your family, just everything. And you're taking it in. You're looking at your family. You're looking at what you eat, how you speak, where you go to church, where's your supports. That's holistic. Talk with your healthcare provider. Talk to your teachers. Talk to them. Bug them. Have a good attitude about it. Talk to the psychologists, social workers, the counselors. Talk to their friends and their mothers. Back in the day, my mother would talk to other mothers, and mothers would talk to, and we would go, they don't do that no more. Oh, I can't talk to my kid, and you can't, everything is such a mess in this day and age. Um, Tell others about your child's conduct order. I would have to go with my brother, and he was a mess at school before he passed away. And I would talk to other parents and say, I just want to let you know that my son, my brother's not a bully. He's got some issues. Just pray for him. If you see him out, just give me a call. It's my cell number. It's all about communication, effective communication. And we did all of that. And be in touch with the current research and stop playing Xbox games and going, sometimes when people have kids, they forget to have kids. And when you have kids, you got to invest in your kids. That means your time. That means your money. That means your space. That means every waking hour you're to train your kids and talk to your kids. I do that. And I ain't going to tell you, I ain't going to lie. I'll be wore out sometimes. I'm like, oh my God. And that's why I go in my office sometime and I have to breathe. See the lion back there? He's breathing like I'm breathing. I'm like, oh man, I need a break. So I call my daughter, hey, can you take Marquise? Can you take Malays, both my kids? I need a little break. I need some mental health time for my wife and I, and they need a little time from us. They want to see me all the time, and just give yourself a break. Anyway, that I thought I got cut off, but this is Father Mentor Show, man. I'm done. But listen, you can hit me up at askfathermentor@gmail.com. We always will come back. I've been kind of lazy, a lot of things going on, but I will be back next Monday, 6 o'clock Pacific time. You're in the Lion's Den, and we're going to break some more things out for the family and for children. Next time, peace. Father Mentor. Being a psychologist, one of the things that I made a vow to do is to treat every child like my son and every young lady like my daughter.